Howdy folks, I'm Keith Bowen and this is Hard Rock University. Well, we're back here up in the claim I-break for Bedrock has. We're trying to figure out exactly what's going on. Right there's where we took the previous samples. They didn't come out too well. So Wade came up here and he did some more testing. And he found some gold right in here, some pretty good gold.
1 gram.
1 gram right in here. So, just looking at it, it's, you know, he's got maybe a quarter to half a bucket of material that he actually ran and processed. Sounds about right. Now, the question is the gold in the bedrock? Is it in the placer? Or is it kind of on the interface between the two? Because placer gold can work itself pretty well down into the cracks. So in order to get a good clean sample of the bedrock, I've taken off about this much material since I got here, leaving this clean bottom to this hole. Now the bedrock itself looks primarily like just broken host rock with a little crack staining. This does not appear to be what you would normally consider to be vein type material. That doesn't mean it can't be, but there's nothing here we can actually see. There's no vein that I can see here. There's some darker iron stained material in here that's pretty soft and weathered. That could be the result of minerals oxidizing and weathering out. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a sample of the bottom of this hole here. This is good clean material. Now this is really important when you're sampling a new spot, especially when somebody's showing it to you, because they've got their ideas of what's going on. They may be right, they may be wrong. You don't know. We don't know. So you need to check everything as if they're completely wrong, that they don't know what they're talking about or whatever. And there's also the case, I don't think that's the case here, but you got people who are rather unscrupulous there, Wade. And so they will try salting things, putting some stuff there. So your general procedure, always make sure you clean your surface, especially when it's been pointed out by somebody else, to get to what you know is uncontaminated material, either natural or unnatural contamination. Then take your sample and keep it sacrosanct until you can actually analyze it. In the case of the largest gold scam in history, they actually salted 60,000 samples. So you never know. Now this material, see, it's nice and red. There's lots of iron in it. So you can't tell. This may just be that the gold may be in the cracks. They got a lot of gold out of that gully there. And this material that I removed, we're going to see about crushing and dry washing to see how that turns out. And right now, I'm taking this material. Yep. See that?
Nice.
That's definitely some kind of minerals that are weathering out pretty good.
Yeah, and the gold always had the black host kind of stuck to it.
Kind of a varnish on it or something. Yep.
Some juicy looking stuff there, Keith. Gosh.
Yep. So what we're doing here is also, as I'm taking this, now you notice there's a color change that just occurred. This is much yellower and much larger pieces. So something happened right here when I was taking that sample. So what I think I'm going to do is take 2 samples. Where it's handy to have lots of bags. And again, whenever you see a change, take a separate sample. That's how you find out what carries the gold, what doesn't carry the gold. You mix it all together, you lose information. Now he said that this area here actually had the richest gold, correct? This end of the trench here had the best stuff?
Well, right about where you're sitting, we pulled a 1 grammer that was on the surface.
Yeah.
But, I mean, in general, just down below you.
So I'll say, we'll just take a separate sample here. Put that in here.
Now that rock on the sidewall looks awful coppery and green.
Which
I
one?
spray painted
That's
it.
spray paint there.
Yeah,
Ah.
sorry about that.
That yellow?
Yep.
This-
Bear uses hot pink because you can't mistake it for anything else.
Right, well, they were out.
yeah, it happens. Yellow's a pretty good color. White also on many rocks is a good color.
Yeah, I like that stuff. See how it's like a dirt and almost like a black iron stained black?
Yeah, it's kind of turning into clay. And again, we're getting larger class. We're now starting to get some yellow on this side. So there's a zone in here that has this softer, finer grained, darker color material.
And that's what I metal detected the piece out of, was that black, almost like a mud, came right out of that stuff, right where you were at.
Okay, let's go ahead and
Yeah, see what happens.
get what we can comfortably carry. And then you set up the dry washer and the impact mill.
I'm ready.
Now you can see how much different that looks than that. There's clearly a change that goes on here. And that's why we have two separate samples. Avoid cross-contamination. And since he is of the opinion this is the good-looking stuff, we'll take the bigger sample of it. And again, you can see it's just
Crumbly.
dark material. This could be the top of a vein that was heavily mineralized, that just completely weathered into clays and oxides and stuff like that, and leaving the gold liberated in it in the matrix. It's going to be a little hard to tell just in a few hour test. This is why it's kind of nice to be able to camp in an area and work for several days, so you can take this, get pan results, and then work. Well, let's dig a trench there, and it makes it a lot easier when you got plenty of time. But we have, again, limited time here. Let's see. So I think we're ready to actually start milling and dry washing, right?
Sure.
I've never seen that in hard rock, where there's no fine.
There was some fine, but not too much, you know.
That's another thing a lot of people don't do. They don't realize you don't need to finish to throw in more. If you're not losing gold, just don't take that time. Once you get it down to 10%, throw in another batch.
That's right. Common sense will go a really long way in there. 40 pounds maybe.
I'd say more like 25.
Well, there you go. 25 pounds. 12, 15 chunky pieces.
Yeah, there's some really nice
some
chunky
water
pieces in there.
So my operating theory at the moment is that the gold is in the interface, basically, between the dirt and the decomposing bedrock. There's the area where we were working. So I came down here where there's a fairly steep hillside, which allows you to dig a deep hole without having to move a lot of material. And as you can see, we have dirt up there, transitioning to rock here, and then, you know, deeper rock here. So I took this layer, pure soil, this layer, mostly soil and and decomposing bedrock. Then this layer here, which is all bedrock, but fairly close to surface. And then this one, which is deep bedrock. It's all crushed and then dry washed. Here's the material from the deepest one, and there was no real gold in it. Lots of these black things here, and they're kind of rounded nodules. They don't look river worn. They look lumpy but rounded. Not exactly sure. Okay, so right now we have, again, the black nodules, no visible gold. This is the layer, the second to the deepest layer, still away from the soil interface. And there's a couple little specks of gold. It'll be interesting to see if I can see this in the camera. It's right about centered in the field right now. See what happens. A little bit to the left of that dry spot. Soil surface. Let's see if you can actually see the gold in the videotape. There's a couple pieces in there. Not much. Right about in that area, I believe. Can't see on the display. Okay, so here's the gold. And I just found something interesting on the camera. It really shows it up well if I shade it. Now this was the last sample that Wade had dug out but hadn't processed yet, so we crushed it and processed it for him, and it's got lots of gold in it. But it's from a small area. So we'd have to find more of it around in order to make it worthwhile. And that, I don't know how difficult that would be. So we shall consider things and go from there. Now this is some of that weird silvery rock, and some buckets for scale here. I'm not sure what the inclusions are. And this is in the shade, so you can't really see it. But that stuff shines brilliantly silver in the sun. Okay, here's the pan from the sample that we took first. And this is pretty good. That's wire gold. It's obviously hasn't been transported any distance at all. That looks like it may actually be gold from bedrock in place that's decomposing. There was also some fine gold there. Let me see if I can get this a little cleaner. So that's a piece of wire gold there. And there's a number of other little chunks. So we do have something going on here. And I'm pretty confident that I was deep enough in the bedrock that that's not surface contamination. Interesting. We got some seriously rich pockets with some seriously chunky gold without a whole lot of fine gold, apparently. Never seen something like this before. So, from the top of I Break for Bedrock's mountain here, with Eva and Jason, happy prospecting and keep it safe out there.